Bryan Kohberger was allegedly able to stab 4 Idaho college students to death in just a few minutes, well, it's a big question for the prosecution to explain to the rest of us, specifically the jury, but some insight into his past may give us some clues. Turns out Kohberger knew how to use a knife. Bryan worked as a fish cutter. He was a fillet man when he was in high school, trained to cut and fillet raw fish. I know how to do it. Means you gotta know how to use a knife. We'll see how Kohberger was.
This is Reporter Room with Jessica Davies.
Hello, Reporter Room investigators. Come on in, come on in. My name is Jessica Davies, and today we're going to be talking about the Bryan Kohberger case. A lot of new information is coming to light, and Taylor doesn't want the jury or you to see this, so let's get started. I'm an investigative journalist, and my job is to investigate crimes, crime scenes, and potential suspects, and share with you how to do the same thing. If you haven't subscribed to Reporter Room, please do like, share, leave a comment, and know that everything I'm sharing is my opinion. Today, we're going to be talking about the Bryan Kohberger case and the Dateline NBC special. We're going to go through the top takeaways from the Dateline NBC special. We learned that Maddie Mogen was the target, and Dateline NBC explained this because their understanding was that the perpetrator went straight up the stairs and straight to Maddie's room. We already knew that BK purchased the K-bar knife. I've been reporting this out since over a year ago, but they did confirm that BK did purchase the K-bar knife on Amazon. But we did learn something new. We learned that Bryan Kohberger called his father multiple times after doing away with Kaylee, Maddie, Ethan, and Xana. At around 6:30 a.m. that morning, there were 3 phone calls. What were they talking about? Was this typical? Was it normal for BK to call his father at this hour? And was it normal for him to call this many times? Because this makes me think back to Brian Laundrie and what we learned in watching the Netflix series on Gabby Petito. And Brian Laundrie called his parents after he did away with Gabby Petito. It is interesting that his father flew out to drive back with him from Washington to Pennsylvania. Law enforcement told us this trip had been planned in advance, but how far in advance? Was it in advance of this November 13th series of phone calls to Michael Kohberger? What do you guys think? I learned that Dr. Gary Picotto said that the photos that were found on Bryan Kohberger's phone, that he was clearly trolling young women to fuel his fantasies. We learned that BK traveled to the area of the 1122 King Road home with his phone pinging within 100 meters of this particular cell tower near the house. And we are hearing that it's anywhere from 11 to 23 times, and that some of this matches up with video footage of the Hyundai Elantra. And also, we have heard that law enforcement has lined up some of the phone pings with actual CCTV footage of his Hyundai Elantra. We also learned from FBI profiler Greg Cooper that BK would have been scoping out the house, that the reason for these cell phone pings would have been that BK would have been scoping out the 1122 King Road home. He would have been assessing his risks, and he believes that BK planned this. We also learned that BK Googled Ted Bundy prior, so before November 13th of 2022. He also Googled the name of one of his professors, and then he downloaded a paper titled Ted Bundy on the Malignant Mind. Now, maybe he was doing this for school, so maybe this was benign, but it could have also been for his own personal use. However, the gist of the paper, and I think this is significant, is how Ted Bundy justified himself. So was BK making an effort to try to justify his fantasies and his plans for what he was going to do? Hopefully, we will learn more about this during the trial. Now, profiler FBI profiler Cooper stated that this was an effort on BK's part to achieve power control and domination. He felt that BK could not achieve this in his regular life, and so he was looking for a way to achieve this. In fact, there is more information that BK had on his phone regarding Ted Bundy, so we'll talk about more about this in just a moment, so please stay with me. What do you guys think? Are you watching closely? So did BK choose Washington? Did he choose to go to his PhD program in the state of Washington because this is where Ted Bundy went to school? Just like Ted Bundy, BK also got his bachelor's degree in psychology. So was this BK's way of trying to connect with Ted Bundy, who also did away with sorority girls? So we also learned that there was a photo posted on August 16th. So toward the end of the summer of Kaylee, Maddie, Dylan, Bethany, and Xana. And shortly after this photo went up at around 5:30 p.m., a noise complaint was called into law enforcement about the 1122 King Road home. And I think this is significant because Steve Gonzalez told us that he believes that BK was possibly phoning in noise complaints himself and that he was trying to do research to figure out how long it took law enforcement to respond to this home. One of the other things that I thought was really interesting on Dateline NBC was that because on one of the noise complaints, when law enforcement did respond, none of the roommates were at home. So they were wondering if Bryan Kohberger could have entered the 1122 King Road home at one of these parties without the roommates even being aware that he was in their home because they weren't at the house. Now, they posed this question to Ashlyn's mom. She didn't think this could be true, but I'm not convinced. What do you guys think? If the roommates and victims were not even home, then how would anyone know if Bryan Kohberger attended one of their parties or not? So just 5 days after this noise complaint on August the 21st, BK is stopped in that infamous traffic stop that we don't have any video footage for. He was given a ticket for failing to wear a seatbelt. Now, the jury is going to get to see this video, and Ann Taylor and her defense team, they tried everything to keep this video away from the jury, and the judge denied her motion to suppress this evidence. But the traffic stop happened very close to the 1122 King Road home, and it happened on August 21st. And it happened also at around 11 p.m. at night. I know people think that BK was out shopping, but the grocery stores aren't open at 11 p.m. at night. So what was he really doing near the 1122 King Road home at 11 p.m.? He wasn't out grocery shopping. He wasn't at the mall because they were closed. So was he out hunting? And then just 5 days after that, on August the 26th, BK Googled, quote, "When can a cop detain you?" End quote. So we found out also that that was not the only thing BK was Googling. He Googled the words forced, passed out, drugged, and sleeping. So this is the kind of thing he enjoyed watching, and he enjoyed watching non-consensual. And I think, and I'm really watching my words here, but non-consensual essay, this is what he was into, you guys. And then we started to hear information about the problems with females at WSU. Apparently his behavior toward females and the fact that he was treating and grading female students differently than male students was well known. And he was even belittling his professor. And apparently his behavior toward females and the fact that he was treating and grading female students differently than male students was well known on campus, that he was belittling a female professor. So it's not uncommon for people who are sociopathic to have a grandiosity commonly seen in narcissistic people. And I'm using this as an adjective. I'm not diagnosing him. I'm not a mental health professional. But they think they are the smartest person in the room. And was this ultimately Bryan Kohberger's downfall? Did he think he was smarter than law enforcement? Let me know what you think about all of this in the comment section below. Now let's talk about the WSU break-in. I have been reporting this out for a year and a half. We have now learned the female colleague's name. Her name was Na Young Ko, and she apparently really liked Bryan Kohberger. She shared an office with him. Doesn't seem like he reciprocated. Instead, he was busy downloading women with connections to Kaylee, Maddie, and Xana on his cell phone. And this is where I do think his obsessive compulsive disorder can be used against him by the prosecution. I think it might help him in the defense to explain away some of his odd behavior, like the wearing of gloves and the disappearing shower curtain. But I think the prosecution can also use this to show that even though he had a young female who was interested in him, he was obsessed with Kaylee, Maddie, and Xana. So, as I shared with you, she is the young woman who had someone break into her home. And it was reported out that things were moved around and not taken. That now we learned that there was a couple of things taken. What we also learned was that her apartment key was stored in the office in a drawer in her desk in an office that she shared with Bryan Kohberger. She said she couldn't find her key. A couple of hours later, the key mysteriously reappeared in her drawer. She apparently had baked a cake in her apartment. She left it on the counter or the stove, but when she got back, she found it in the microwave. She also found her cosmetics had been moved around. And remember, psychopaths like to play games. This was a staged break-in. She had 2 items missing. One of them was a watch and one was a personal letter. So she discovers this at 2 a.m. in the morning, and she reaches out to her office mate, Bryan Kohberger. So apparently she went over to his house. She was scared to stay the night at her own house, but it wasn't romantic at all. And she went back to her own home, but she was too scared to stay there, so she bought a security system. And when she could not get it installed, she reached out to her good friend and office mate, Bryan Kohberger. So he was able to install her security systems. He got her Wi-Fi password, and he reportedly used her own cameras to spy on her. We are now learning that she did report this to law enforcement. And so, again, this is another huge red flag and another missed opportunity, in my opinion, to have stopped this guy. Had he been arrested for doing this to this young woman, or if WSU had removed him right then and there for doing this to a female colleague, then maybe what happened on November 13th would not have occurred. Let me know what you think. So we learned that he tended and befriended her. He installed her security system. He got her Wi-Fi password and then used her own security system to spy on her. Now, after a month of being at WSU, he got into an altercation with his professor. He also Googled sociopathic traits in college students. And we also learned that he was enjoying more corn with a P, and this time he was Googling drugged and sleeping and enjoying this. So did he have bigger plans for Maddie Mogen, and is this why Kaylee was so brutally attacked? Was he angry with her because she was in the room and spoiled his plans? We also learned that in early November, on November 2nd, BK had to attend an improvement meeting because of a complaint by a female student of how he was treating her. And then just a couple of days later, his phone pinged again at the cell tower within 100 meters of the 1122 King Road home. And we watched on camera on the Dateline episode as the white Hyundai Elantra circles the neighborhood and then the house before parking. And then we learned what happened. So let's go through this. But this is very similar to what my theory is with a few differences. So let's go through these together. Let me know if you have a different theory. We learned that the perpetrator entered through the patio sliding doors, went straight upstairs to the 3rd floor to Maddie's room. And this is why we believe that Maddie was the target. The perpetrator would have been surprised to find Kaylee in the same bed with Maddie. Dateline believes that Xana heard some kind of noise and went to investigate, and that the killer turned his attention away from Kaylee and Maddie and ran down the stairs and went after Xana. And that Xana ran back toward her bedroom where Ethan was. So in my opinion, it was Xana who would have called out, "There's someone here." She was probably trying to alert Ethan. Now, Ethan was either really soundly sleeping or he was passed out because they had all been out drinking that night. But Dateline believes that when prior to the perpetrator running down the stairs, when he heard somebody call out, "There's someone here," they believe that this is when the knife sheath got dropped. I think it's just as likely that it was dropped in the chaos that ensued in finding Keely in bed with Maddie. I think this would have caught BK off guard, in my opinion. We learned that Xana fought back, and at 4:17, the neighbor's security camera picked up audio of voices, a whimpering sound, and a thud. We also heard a dog bark. Now, we don't know if this was a neighborhood dog or Murphy the dog, who was safe because he was closed in Kaylee's room. To spend a little bit of time with me. Please subscribe, leave me a comment, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much for watching.